Okay. Thank you very much. So good morning. I'm Councillor Philip Davis. I'll be chairing this hearing as Subcommittee A of the Licensing and Public Protection Committee of Birmingham City Council. I'd be grateful if you could all mute your microphones for the moment so we can manage the sound quality while I talk about procedure. And also, if you could turn off your cameras with the exception of committee members, unless you're the person speaking. I think Councillor Morrell has had a problem with his camera, so it may be that his camera will be off, but he will be fully participating.
That's right, Chair. I'm just going to speak just to say I am here, but unfortunately my camera is not working today, unfortunately.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Okay. Usually we have them switched on through the hearing, but anyway, that's an exception today. So if everybody attending could put their mobiles on silent, make the usual precautions in terms of interruptions and so on, that will assist the proceedings and ensure that my officers and the members are fully able to hear all the information provided today. Any substantial distractions brought to my attention could result in the meeting being suspended temporarily or to another date and time under the regulations for these types of meetings. I confirm this is a public meeting and it's therefore being live streamed on the City Council's website in order that the general public can view it. The formal agenda is as follows. Notice of recording webcast. I advise the meeting to note this meeting will be webcast for live or subsequent broadcast by the Council's meeting YouTube site, and that members of the press and public may record and take photographs except where there are confidential or exempt items. Secondly, declarations of interest. Members are reminded they must declare all relevant pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests arising from any business to be discussed at this meeting. Third, apologies and notification of nominee members. Apologies were submitted on behalf of Councillor Mary Locke and Councillor Diane Donaldson, is the nominated substitute member today. Furthermore, we note the public part of the minutes of the meeting held on 17th of October 2022. So with those formal items, can I welcome you to the main item, which is to deal with a summary review in respect to the licence for Glamorous Show Bar, Albany House, 27 to 35 First Street, Birmingham, B5 4BD. I am Councillor Philip Davis. As I said, I'm chairing the meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee A today. With me are the two other members of the committee, Councillors Diane Donaldson and Councillor Simon Moran. Also present in the meeting are the following officers: Mr. David Kennedy, the licensing officer, committee manager Sophia Mirza, and committee lawyer Joanne Swampillar. And now, if I move to the parties, if I could ask you to just confirm your attendance. Firstly, the application, the organisation making the application, West Midlands Police, Mr. Mark Swallow.
Morning, Councillor. Yes, present.
Okay, thank you. Next on the representation list, we have Stonegate EI Group, Miss Joanne Hipkiss. So I understand Stonegate is just here to observe, but if you could just confirm you're here, Ms. Hipkiss, that would help.
Yes, Chair. Right.
Thank you. And I also understand you were. Oh, sorry, I'll move on to that. Next, the licence holder or their representative, that is Mr. Carl Moore, is representing Mr. Matthew Easton. Mr. Moore?
Yes, Chair, I'm Carl Moore, from licensing consultant from CNA Risk Management.
Okay. And Mr. Easton?
Good morning, yes, I'm...
Okay, thank you. And we also have other observers here today. Okay, could I ask if any of the persons making representations, I think this is chiefly notified to you, Mr. Swallow, wish to withdraw any of those representations at this stage of the hearing?
No, Councillor.
Okay, thank you. I assume all parties have read and understood the Licensing Committee's procedural rules sent out with the notice of today's hearing. Please note that given the nature of today's proceedings, I may at my discretion amend the procedural rules to reflect the fact this meeting is taking place online, but I assure everyone that any such amendment will not impact on the party's right to a fair hearing. We use the chat function, as you know, as a backup in these hearings. I think everybody's familiar with that function now, but it is, if you're unfamiliar with it, it is a speech bubble at the top of your your toolbar on your PC or on your phone, and you will be able to access that. We use the chat facility largely to record the attendance today, and so on this basis, I would ask everybody now to go to the chat facility and to type in their name. That will assist the officers record who is here today. I'm just going to do that myself. If I can get the function up, there we are. And then once we've done that, we can proceed. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much for that, colleagues. Just there we are, back to full screen. Thank you very much. We keep that chat column open as a backup, but you can indicate if you wish to speak by doing so audibly or by hitting the yellow hand button. With the exception of subcommittee members, please keep your camera off unless you're the person speaking. We've already noted Councillor Morell's problems with his camera. If there's a problem with bandwidth which causes difficulty with the sound, I may, at my discretion, ask everyone to turn their cameras off in order the meeting can proceed with everyone able to hear and be heard. So we're now on to preliminary points. These are usually about process. Can I ask either of the representatives, so Mr. Swallow first, do you have any preliminary points you want to make?
No, Chair.
Okay. And then Mr. Moore, have you got any preliminary points?
No, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, so now I'll move on to the main procedure. Firstly, I'll be asking the licensing officer, Mr. David Kennedy, to present his report. Then the applicants here, the West Midlands Police, will present their case. We normally allow 20 minutes for the main presentations. Then those making representations will be invited to make their case in response. Rather, any further representation will be received at that point. Then we'll come on to the response from the licence holder, with Mr. Moore being given, again, 20 minutes to make that response. As I say, if there's any problem with communication, you come up here, then please use the chat function to indicate or try and catch our attention in some other way. Please note that members of the subcommittee will be able to ask questions at any stage, but we'll try to do so at the conclusion of each presentation. Cross-examination by the applicant and those making representations will not be permitted unless the members consider it appropriate. The questions raised by members of the subcommittee or by those present, as I've indicated, you can indicate audibly or using the chat function. If we can't at any point hear someone or having problems with internet connection, we'll please try and alert the meeting manager or me. We'll then ask the person speaking to stop speaking, and we'll attempt to rectify the issue. There's some technical issues with microphones sometimes, which I think you're all aware of. So again, if I can remind people to keep their microphones on mute other than when you're speaking. Occasionally, it may be necessary for the subcommittee to take legal advice. At my discretion, I may ask all parties to wait in the meeting while members and the relevant officers withdraw to take legal advice using a separate meeting within Microsoft Teams. We'll then return to this meeting and continue. If at any time the live stream being broadcast on the City Council website fails, I'll ask you all to mute your microphones and cameras and to stop speaking until the live stream is restored. And if at any time the meeting goes into private session, the meeting manager will pause the live stream. Once the private part of the meeting is over, I'll ask the meeting manager to confirm that the live stream has resumed before we continue. And at the conclusion of the hearing, I'll invite all parties to make a brief closing submission. We normally allow about 5 minutes for that. And then can I stress, no decision will be taken until all the evidence has been heard. At the decision-making stage, members and the relevant officers will withdraw from this meeting in order to determine the decision. They'll go into a separate Microsoft Teams meeting. In the event the members need to clarify any point, you'll be telephoned by the meeting manager. Okay, that is the process. So with that, I'd like to move to the licensing officer, Mr. David Kennedy, to present his report. Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you, Chairman. On the 18th of October 2022, Superintendent Simpson applied for a review under Section 53A of the Licensing Act 2003 as amended by the Violent Crime Reduction Act 2006 of the premises licence granted to Matthew Easton in respect of Glamorous Show Bar, Albany House, 27 to 35 Hurst Street, Birmingham, B5 4BD. The application was accompanied by the required certificate, which is attached to Appendix 1. Licensing Subcommittee C met on the 19th of October to consider whether to take any interim steps and resolve that the then designated premises supervisor be removed, that the premises shall change their security provider, and that a member of the management team of the premises will have control and direction over the security team when the premises is open for licensable activities. A copy of that decision is attached to Appendix 2. The review application was advertised by the Licensing Authority in accordance with the regulations. A representation has been received from other persons, which is attached to Appendix 3. A copy of the current premises licence is attached to Appendix 4. On the 18th of October 2022, an application was received to vary the premises licence to remove Raphael Clark and specify Leanne Kerry-Watts as the new designated premises supervisor. West Midlands Police have submitted a supporting document in the format of a witness statement, which is published at pages 37 and 38 of the agenda pack. Site location plans are attached to Appendix 5. When carrying out its licensing functions, a licensing authority must have regard to Birmingham City Council's statement of licensing policy and the guidance issued by the Secretary of State under Section 182 of the Act. The licensing authority's functions under the Act are to promote the 4 licensing objectives. The options available to the committee today are to modify the conditions of licence, exclude a licensable activity from the scope of the licence, remove the designated premises supervisor, suspend the licence for a period not exceeding 3 months, revoke the licence, or take no action. In addition, the subcommittee will need to decide what action, if any, should be taken regarding the interim steps imposed on the 19th of October. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, I'd like to move on to Mr. Mark Swallow now for West Midlands, please.
Thank you, Chair. Glamorous Show Bar is situated at Albany House, 27 to 35 Hurst Street in Chinatown, Birmingham, B5 4BD. It has a premises licence number 1414 and is licensed for licensable activity between the hours of 1000 and 0600 the next morning on each day. 0440 hours on Sunday the 16th of October 2022, the premises was open and conducting licensable activity. This time, a male has approached the premises and been involved in an altercation with door staff from the premises. This has resulted in the male being detained by 2 members of the premises door staff and being restrained on the floor. This has rendered the male unable to defend himself, and he was not struggling. Third member of door staff, who was not involved in the detention of the male and who was stood at the entrance, was next to a metal crowd control barrier. The member of door staff has repeatedly struck the head of the male on the floor, being restrained with this barrier. This has led to the male lapsing into unconsciousness. The 3 security guards have been arrested for the offence and have been interviewed in regards to the matter. The security guards have been released under investigation whilst inquiries continue into it. On the 19th of October this year, an interim hearing was held in relation to an expedited review taken out by West Midlands Police. As a result, Committee C imposed an interim steps order containing 3 conditions. Those conditions being, the premises shall change the security provider, Raphael Clark would be removed as the designated premises supervisor for the premises and be replaced, and that a member of the management team of the premises would have control and direction over the security team whilst the premises was open for licensable activities. A 4th condition requested by West Midlands Police to reduce the terminal hour for licensable activity was rejected by the committee. I can confirm that since the time of the order, there have been no incidents at the location where the premises could be seen to be negligent. All 3 steps have been introduced and followed by the premises, and I have seen and processed the 2 applications for variations to the premises licence to reduce these measures. I can also say that when officers made inquiries at the premises in relation to an incident that occurred in the roadway near to the premises, which was nothing to do with Glamorous, the premises provided all the help they could and provided valuable CCTV evidence in relation to a serious incident. In view of the developments since the hearing, West Midlands Police would request that the 3 conditions from the interim steps order be carried forward as an order for the final hearing. The request for a reduction in the terminal hour for licensable activity for the premises is withdrawn. The position has been discussed with the representatives of the premises and is an agreed position. West Midlands Police believe that those measures would be lawful, proportionate and necessary. Thank you, Chair. Chair, I think you're on mute.
I am indeed. Thank you very much for that. I'll move to questions from members. Councillor Morale.
Thank you, Chair. I've got to say, firstly, just to declare an interest, I've been a patron of this venue, and I have, just like most venues that I go to, I always speak to the door staff, and I've always found the door staff at Glamorous actually to be fairly competent, actually, because Glamorous is normally open quite late, and I've been known to get down there past 4 o'clock, and they've always turned me away. So I'm very disappointed by this, really, really disappointed, actually, of what's happened. And as you said yourself, normally they have CCTV. They normally help the police because obviously there's been, if you know the gay village, there's been a lot of homophobic attacks down there, and I know Glamorous have supported the police in that sort of stuff in the past. I just want to explore what evidence you actually have for this, because we've not actually seen any evidence presented to this committee here. When you say a security staff who was not involved in the altercation got a barrier and started hitting the person until he was unconscious, I assume you have video footage of that, and I'd like you to explore a bit, just go a bit more into detail about what actually happened. Was a paramedic called out? Is the guy okay? I want you to just go into a little bit more detail for the committee, please, so we can understand a bit more of what actually happened on the night and what were the reasons for it. What was he shouting racist abuse? Was there? I just find it very disappointing that this has happened, and I want to understand the wider context of why it happened. Thank you, Mark.
Yes, certainly. I'll try and fill in some of the background of that. Yes, I have seen CCTV evidence in relation to the incident. As this was an agreed position coming to final hearing, I did not choose to share that CCTV, as it is a live investigation in relation to 3 people, and obviously that is ongoing as we speak. So what has happened here is that this person, the victim, if you like, has approached the premises earlier on in the evening and has been refused entry. At this time, later, he came back to the premises, worse to wear for drink, that hadn't been consumed in the premises but had obviously been consumed elsewhere, and became involved in an argument with door staff who were refusing him entry. Obviously, the details of that argument I cannot confirm, but an argument has occurred, and then he has been restrained and he's been taken to the floor by the 2 door staff and restrained on the ground. Whilst that is happening, the 3rd member of door staff, who was stood outside the door, who wasn't involved in the incident at all, has picked up a crowd control barrier, a metal crowd control barrier, which was approximately 6 foot by 3 foot in dimensions, and has on 4 to 5 occasions hit the person restrained on the floor, unable to defend themselves, on the head with this barrier. This has led to that person lapsing into unconsciousness. Officers attended the scene as a result, I believe, of being called by the Arcadian security, who had witnessed the matter on CCTV. They have rendered first aid. Paramedics and ambulance have then attended, and the person was taken to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. At the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, initially the person was put into an induced coma because of the seriousness of their injuries. Wow. However, later on, that person was brought out of the coma, and I can say that the injuries are neither life-threatening nor life-changing. So that's the background. From the interim steps hearing, the premises don't condone the actions of the door staff. In fact, I believe they condemned the actions of the door staff and stated that the door staff had acted in a rogue manner that was not acceptable, which they have then obviously dispensed with the services not only of the 3 members of the door staff, but with the company that provides those door staff as well, because they had issues. They weren't happy with the standard of door staff that were being provided. So they have dispensed completely with that company and have appointed another company that they have links with because of their Coventry branch of the premises, who are now providing the door staff for the premises. And there have been, as I said in the evidence in chief, no issues where the premises could be seen to be negligent since that time. I hope that sort of clarifies the situation around it.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Donaldson.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask Mark Swallow, does the new company, does it have a good reputation, an extensive reputation?
The new company is an SIA approved company. It's also an ACS approved company. So in terms of qualifications to carry out that role, obviously is fully equipped to comply with the conditions of the licence. As I've said, they provide the people in Coventry. So from the terms of Birmingham, I have had little or no dealings with this company other than these dealings. But in this period of time since they've taken over the door at Glamorous, there have certainly been no issues, and we've found them to be cooperative with the police.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. I think that's our questions. So thank you very much, Mr. Swallow. Is that your submissions for the moment?
Yes, Councillor, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we can now, I think, move on to Mr. Moore representing the licence holder. There are, as I say, some parties, including the freeholder here, observing, but they've indicated they don't wish to speak. So we'll move on to Mr. Moore, as I say, representing the licence holder, Mr. Eason. So, Mr. Moore, would you like to make your presentation to the committee?
Yes, Chair. I think most of it has already been said by West Midlands Police, and also documentation is there regarding interim steps. As soon as my applicant was, the applicant was aware of this incident had taken place, yes, we straight away we removed that current DPS and found somebody else. And we also had a communication with the security company and dismissed them instantly. We have a security company, as Mr. Swallow has mentioned, that does another unit of Glamorous Bar over in Coventry, who have performed very well. And they have been in situ since the incident. And as Mr. Swallow has said, we've had no incidents there, and it's running fine. The other thing that we had a look at prior to the interim steps was, because we, not only Glamorous, but in the industry itself, the standard of security operatives is, well, it is poor. And that's because of Brexit and because of COVID. We just don't seem to be finding the right quality of staff. So what we have done, we put a condition in there that the member of the management team, instead of being inside the venue, will be stationed outside, acting really as a head doorman, but we normally work with the head doorman anyway, but they will be there to oversee the standard of door that is being used, and obviously can make decisions as well. So that's what we've done with that. I think Mr. Eason would probably want to just say a few things about how things have been going since the incident up to date. Matt?
Hi, yes. So as Carl's just said, since we've put this new condition on, if I can elaborate a bit more on that third condition on having a manager present on the door. So far we've done that since the incident occurred, and it's been a very invaluable condition to have. It's given us a bit more of an insight as to, you know, what's going on upstairs, and it allows the manager to step in and make decisions, especially now we've got a new door company. We've now got to train this new door team as to the kind of clientele that we want inside and the kind of clientele we don't want inside. And it's also been helpful for managers to show them that and help pick, if you like, customers that we want inside. And also, if things do get a little bit heated on the door, because we have had to have obviously a meeting with this new door company and the door staff and said, OK, there's a reason you're here. It's because of what happened at this incident. And it is a challenging door. You are going to get spoken to in a manner that's not acceptable by the general public, but to put it politely. So you need to keep your cool, and having a manager present on the door, they can step in and take customer complaints, which the most complaint we get at Glamorous is when people get refused entry. It happens a lot because of where we are. We're surrounded by a lot of other bars and clubs that closed before us. So obviously we have to be very careful as to who we're letting in the early hours of the morning. We do have that 4:30 last admission time. And we've recently put signage up in our front doorway to explain to customers that is the case and that we won't be allowing anyone in after that time. So that third condition, from my point of view, so far has been a really good insight into what happens and allowing my management to step in when required and assist that new door company in doing a good job. So when we say a member of management, we've got 3 duty managers, including Leanne, who's the DPS. So when Leanne is on shift, she'll be upstairs, and we'll also have another manager downstairs, obviously, as we've removed that person from downstairs. So just to explain how we've done that, we've kind of doubled up duty managers. We've got someone upstairs and someone downstairs. So that's how that works. Yeah, I think that's the best way to describe all of that.
Okay. Thank you for that. Mr. Moore, anything else you want to say?
No, unless there's any other parties tied in with the applicant wish to say anything. But I think, Chair, that concludes our case.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Donaldson, do you have any questions?
No, Chair, thank you.
Councillor Morrell?
No questions, thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so is that your submission then, Mr. Moore, on behalf of the licence holder?
Yes, it is, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, so we're actually on to closing submissions then. Again, I have the freeholder on the list. I didn't call them because they've asked to observe, so I'll move on to Mr. Swallow from the West Midlands Police. Mr. Swallow.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'll keep this very brief. As I've said most of what I wanted to say in my evidence in chief. The only thing I would say is that the steps from the interim steps order have proved successful since they were put in place. You've heard that those have been embraced by the premises licence holder and embraced with some vigour and put in place and found to be very useful. And so therefore I would ask the committee to consider put in those steps as being the final order, as a measure that is lawful, proportionate and necessary. And that is the conclusion of my case. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you very much. So again, back to Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore, you're summing up.
Yeah, I think everything has been said, Chair, but just to say that those three conditions, my client fully or heartily accepts those. In fact, they've been in place since day one. I'd just like to say that we worked really well with West Midlands Police. We have a very good liaison with them, and it will continue.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So that's the evidence we need to hear. So the members, the committee lawyer and the committee manager will now go into private session while the subcommittee makes its decision. We will rejoin this meeting. So if you would hold on here to announce a substantive decision of the subcommittee within the time limits. Can I just check that? That is the procedure we normally follow, is it? I'm talking to the legal representative now, Joanne.
Yes, that's right, Chair. You'll make your decision and then we'll come back in to announce a short version with the full written decision with the reasons to follow in due course.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, so can I thank all parties who've attended today? Thank you particularly to Mr. Moore and Mr. Swallow for their presentations, and we'll now adjourn to the other meeting room. If you would hold on here, as I say, so we can come back and give you that short decision. Thank you very much. licence held under Licensing Act 2003 by Matthew James Eason in respect of Glamorous Show Bar, Albany House, 27 to 35 Hurst Street, Birmingham, B5 4BD. Following an application for an expedited review made on behalf of the Chief Officer of the West Midlands Police, this subcommittee hereby determines that of the 3 interim steps imposed at the previous hearing, the first and second steps have been satisfactorily put in place. The conditions of the licence shall be modified as follows. The licence holder will consult the West Midlands Police 14 days in advance of any change of security provider. A member of the management team of the premises will have control and direction over the security team when the premises is opened for licensable activities. The third interim step, namely that a member of the management team of the premises will have control and direction over the security team, will therefore remain in place pending any appeal. That is a decision. Thank you very much, colleagues, for your attendance today and to all the parties. And I close this hearing. So again, if colleagues, we could meet back in the pre-meeting room, that would be good. But that is the end of this hearing. Thank you very much.